The project itself began when I newly joined IES, because I had believed very strongly that when students study abroad, it is true that it changes their lives. I would like them to also become change agents. And so I began to think about some of the global challenges over time, also try to introduce sustainable development goals into our courses and curriculum. And so the result of that was actually the creation of what we now call the global pillars.
The idea was to give the students as much as a broad perspective as possible and to focus in developing projects or ideas to enhance the sustainability at urban level. Barcelona was invited, we started working in the three-center model with Nice and Berlin.
The fact that we have 3 different faculties and 3 different host cities, and that's really the value added of this exercise, because especially in this case we have 2 Mediterranean cities, so comparisons are sort of very interesting to make.
The problem is so complicated, so complex, that no single discipline or even a few disciplines can come up with the entire solution. The more discipline you have, the better.
First is understanding the place. The second thing is to understand the connection of the place to its natural environment. 3 is why it's a succession of waves of immigration and how the image of the Côte d'Azur today is so heavily dominated by tourism.
My focus is actually on social sustainability, how inequality is kind of maybe reinforced by city design. Berlin has not one identity, it does not have 16 identities, or it has many 100 identities. And my aim is that the students get more into depth to understand how different interventions within a city may privilege or disadvantage different social groups.
I think it's a good place to be looking for these initiatives, to get inspired, because almost any aspect of sustainability you can have an example based in Barcelona.
I mentioned before that when we talk about migration, it's full of misunderstanding, misconceptions.
Well, I have to say, I'm so glad that I took it. Learn about sustainability through my own eyes, through actually experiencing, because I could theoretically take a class just like this back at my university, but it's not going to be the same because I'm not living in the city, I'm not experiencing life here in the same way.
I think it's very important to consider those other aspects, and I feel like they're often forgotten about when discussing sustainability, because you think of save the trees, that kind of stuff, don't use straws. I feel like you need to understand the economic and social side, because that's what's deciding what a city can do to either change to become more sustainable or prioritize profit.
We all saw an English art class discussion. That was when we realized that the tourism was having a really strong influence in a lot of the problems involved in Barcelona, but also was easily one of the biggest opportunities.
Berlin is a beautiful city and it's amazing. But it's only one small part of Europe and of the world, and I wanted to have a more holistic experience to bounce ideas off of other people. And this class was perfect. I knew a little bit that it would be hybrid, so you have some classes online, and I also knew that it was with other cities.
While I've learned very specific small things, I think in general now I'm more conscious when I go to a new city. I feel like I think twice. So I think that's the biggest difference that the course has made in me. It just makes me want to learn more, the things that I don't know, and I think it just makes me more of a conscious global citizen.
The goal is to make something that improve Berlin's sustainability. So that's really what caught my attention. And the biggest difference between this and my other classes is there's no lecture. We'll have a little bit of lecture time. But other than that, it's all working in a group, look at our own cities and investigate the issues there, or on field trips, learning about all sorts of different organizations around the city.
Obviously, the field trip in Nice is to familiarize the students with what's going on here. Marseille is a trip that it fits perfectly to this paradox.
And we are still in Marseille, in urban. This is still...
I love marine science. I am very excited to see how Marseille has addressed climate change.
Yeah, this course has been totally different than anyone I've ever taken before because you actually take the learning in class and apply it in real life. And actually get to do hands-on stuff, which I'm really all about. Never really had that experience in college, but it's something so unique.
Even though we call it 3 global pillars, sustainable living, equitable living, and human well-being, in actuality, they're all intersected, they're intertwined. So really, when you teach a global pillars course, it's not uncommon for all these 3 aspects to actually come into play.
So welcome to our final and grand finale class for the course Designing the Sustainable City on the Global Pillars.
Welcome, fellow sustainable travelers, to our website. So we want you to explore needs with us.
So this is our project, Housing Advocacy in Berlin. Our main goal was to create an interactive map that would connect local communities and local citizens with housing opportunities.
It's very large, and with it, 68% of tourists are international, so there's a disconnect between locals and the people visiting.
I learn every time I teach with Alejandra and Christine from their perspective, so I feel for me this is really enriching. So I have different assignments in the other course, and I'm still thinking to, for example, make the assignments also more in line with the global pillars idea that we create something on our own and not just write essay questions.
The next phase is actually to infuse the global pillars into every course that we teach. And so really, when the students leave here, when they come to IES, they'll get something that they probably will not get anywhere else. That is a socialization of the idea that there are global challenges out there that all of us need to address and that they can be part of the solution.
As a teacher, it's a lot more rewarding to get to this point and hear this kind of outcome from your class.
I have sort of changed my approach to my other classes since I teach the global pillar. So in a way, I'm global pillarizing my other classes.